So any area that we want to declutter, whether it's surfaces around the house, a closet, a cluttered room, a storage shed, a garage, or your entire house, these are declutter strategies that help get me mentally prepared and keep me on track while going through the declutter process. Number one, this begins before you declutter, organize, or style your space. Visualize how you want to feel when you walk into this space. How do you want to feel when you walk into your home, or into your living room, or into your kitchen, into your bedroom? How do you want it to feel? Do you want it to feel calm and peaceful and serene and relaxing? And that's number one on my list for a reason, because we have to have the ultimate goal in our mind. We have to visualize what it is that we're after. What is the end result with this work that we're about to do on this space? Number two, ask yourself, how do I want to use this space? How do you want it to function for you? What is the best purpose or the best way that it can serve you and your household? So you're visualizing the feeling you're going to get from it, and now you're giving it a purpose. What is the task that you want the space to do for you? So it could have that one specific use, that one task that it does for you, or it could be a multi-purpose space where it has to do multiple tasks. And either way works, but just knowing ahead of time what direction you're taking it gives you that end goal that you're headed for. Number three, aim for visual interest versus visual noise. And this is gonna be different for everyone because there is no right or wrong here. Everyone will see this differently. So what is visual interest for one person might be visual noise for another, because we all require different levels of stimulation in our environment. Decide what you want to see on display and what you want to have put away. If we have too much on display, too much decor, too much furniture, crowded corners, or cluttered surfaces, our eye isn't able to move through the room seamlessly. It catches on too many things. Even a single item that's the wrong fit for our space can create visual noise. And all of the visual noise can cause our items that we do appreciate to not look as nice because there's too many things competing for space and attention. Instead, we can edit unnecessary objects and things that distract from the items that are useful or special to us. And with less visual noise, we're able to create visual interest with the items that are most meaningful to us. Some people might be more easily overwhelmed. They might be more sensitive to too many things out on surfaces or on walls. They might have more of a monochromatic color scheme in their home. Whereas the person who wants more stimulation, that might be too barren, too empty. They might need more in their environment, more color, maybe more patterns. They might want to see more on their walls or on their surfaces. So this strategy is helpful when you're decluttering, reorganizing, and styling your space. Just knowing yourself and what you're going to feel best around, how much stimulation you're actually able to handle. Number four, take before and after pictures. It's so much fun to see the difference between before you decluttered versus after. It can really help inspire you and keep you motivated to want to keep your space clutter-free. Number five, declutter first and then organize. And decluttering first means we're not wasting time organizing clutter, which is a huge time suck. We don't want to spend time trying to find places around our house to store things that we might not even really want. And once you've gone through the declutter phase, then you're ready to get organizing. And it's so much easier because now you have less stuff to manage, maintain, and keep organized. Number six, decide where you want to start. How do you feel today? What's your energy level like? How much time do you have for decluttering today? Just a few things to think about before you get started decluttering and choosing what area is going to fit your day best. You might have a whole afternoon to be able to declutter, or maybe only have 15 minutes. You can do a little bit or you can do a lot, depending on what your energy level is and how much time you have that day. And you don't have to try to cram a big old declutter into a little amount of time. If that seems overwhelming to you, you can just stretch it out. If you need a few days to do a project, don't overwhelm yourself. Decluttering can be fun, and it actually should be fun. Make it more like a game. Make it something that's enjoyable rather than something that is overwhelming to you. And that leads us to number seven, work in phases, or one area at a time where it's easy to tackle. So especially if you have an area that's overwhelming, so any area that's like a multitasking space or a space that has a lot of little items, it can take extra time to go through all of that stuff. So it's easier to break it up into smaller sections. Like for a closet, you don't have to do the whole closet if that seems overwhelming. You could just do one shelf in that closet, or do one surface. If you have a bunch of clutter all over the place, covering up surfaces or tables, side tables, just clean off one surface at a time if that that's all you can do for one day, that's perfect. Do the next surface the next day, or the next shelf the next day. It feels so light and freeing every time you're able to let go of something. Number 8, have some trash bags or donate boxes ready to go. So as soon as you start decluttering, you know exactly where you're going to be putting those items that are going to be leaving your house. Number 9, speed declutter or deep declutter. There's 2 main ways we could approach our decluttering project. We can leave everything in the space and just go through the items and cherry pick out what we want to declutter. Or we can pull everything out of the space, spread it all out on our bed or on the floor, on a coffee table, so that way everything's in front of you and you can easily see exactly what you've been storing in that space. And you can take your time sorting piles or whatever you want to do from there. Then you're able to go back in and do a deep clean on that space before the items you want get organized back into that space. So with my bookshelf, I'm just going to speed declutter and go through all of my books. I'm not going to pull everything out to do that though. I'm just going to leave them where they are. But in the future, I will do a deep declutter on the entire closet. So both speed decluttering and deep decluttering work really well. It just depends on which way you want to go about it for the particular project that you're going to be working on. Now, most of the time, I do prefer to deep declutter because I want to pull everything out. I want to see everything. I want to know exactly how much I've been storing in that space. And it can be quite an explosion of stuff when you pull everything out of a space. Even a little closet. It's amazing how much we can fit into tiny spaces, you know? But it's nice to take control over your inventory and really check it out, see exactly what you've been storing, and then you can really go through it. You also might be open to letting go of even more when you do a deep declutter because you realize exactly how much stuff was being stored. And once you see it all out in piles, you're like, wow, I really don't want all of this stuff. There's so much here that I could live without and be very happy without storing this in my closet or in my space. Number 10, look for items to sell. This is one of my favorite parts of decluttering, is going through your stuff and seeing what you're no longer using that you could actually resell and get some money back out of it. You just never know what you might have around your house that is valuable to somebody else that you're no longer using. And then you can take that money, you can recoup some of that and put that back in your pocket, put it in your savings account or an emergency fund, or use it to pay some debt off, or, you know, use it for car repairs, whatever is going to be serving you best, rather than having that money tied up in belongings around the house. It's not serving a purpose, it's just taking up real estate. So if you are on a mission to declutter, you can go through items and find things that you can sell that would be worth the time, right? You could have a garage sale all at once, or you could have items sold individually. You know, if you sell on Facebook Marketplace, I never have done that, but I've heard other people do that. I've sold lots of stuff on Craigslist, so I know that works well. And if you don't care about getting money back from your items, you can just donate them and or give them away. Like I give stuff away too all the time. Like, so instead of taking my clothes, you know, and donating them to a thrift store that's going to charge money for them, sometimes I'll just look for people who need clothes and I'll just give my stuff away to them. And if you're willing to ship items, you can always sell like on eBay if you have an eBay account. Now, when we're decluttering in general, we want the items to get out of the house as fast as possible. We don't want them sticking around, and we definitely don't want them finding their way back into where they were before. We don't want them sneaking back into our closets or back into the garage and getting lost again, right? So we want to get those items out on their way as fast as possible, whether it's going in the trash, whether it's getting recycled, being given away or donated. But usually the items that we're going to sell will take a little bit longer to get them out of the house and on their way to their new destination. So we can always have, you know, a designated box or a designated area or corner where the sellable items will go until we're able to get those out of the house and onto their new home. And you can always have a time limit on your sellable items. So if they don't sell within a certain time, then you can always end up donating them or giving them away or something. Number 10, make decluttering a practice. It's never a one and done project. It goes on indefinitely. There is no time limit for decluttering. There's no finish line to be like, okay, I am fully decluttered and everything is going to stay perfect now. No, that is never going to happen. Things are constantly cycling in or cycling out, and not everything works for you. You're going to end up with certain things that you still will need to declutter eventually, or maybe it wears out and you just don't need that anymore. There's always going to be things that you'll have to declutter. But the idea is that once we get through the big declutters, we're able to start to minimize how much we're actually having to do, and it gets easier and easier as time goes. The more you declutter, the less you have to declutter. Decluttering is like a shortcut for you getting to the life that you want. None of us want a bunch of clutter around us that we don't want. And decluttering isn't about getting rid of things or limiting things that you enjoy doing or enjoy having. It's only about letting go of the stuff that you don't want. And we're all gonna be at different levels, right? With how much stimulation we're okay with having around us in our environment. So decluttering will be a little bit different for each individual, but it's a great tool to use to get to the life that you want. And decluttering is not something that you have to wait for. You don't have to wait to have your dream home to be into having a nice environment around you. You can start that anywhere. Like, I live in a rental home. It's not fancy. We do not live in a fancy neighborhood. You know, we went for what was as inexpensive as we could find at the time. So the thing that we're doing right now is focusing on saving money, not owning things, not buying things. I must admit though, I do have quite a few plants in the house. It also means more money stays in your pocket instead of going to retailers, you know, and big box stores and all of these big corporations. They don't need any more money, okay? Try to save your money for things that are more precious to you, if at all possible. Some of you guys are probably already like really good at being minimalistic and, you know, not spending too much money out at stores and stuff. For me, I needed to work on myself a lot, because what I came from was not having any money to be able to buy anything other than absolute essentials. And that's how I grew up, because my family didn't have any money. There was no extra for buying anything. It was food and yeah, and some thrift store clothes, you know, that I had to really make last, because that was all I was going to get. So when I came from that and I was able to finally start working myself, became an adult, I was able to have multiple jobs and, you know, make money. So suddenly I had this buying power that I'd never had before. I never experienced that in my life before. And I was able to go to the mall and go start buying things, you know, this and that. And basically a bunch of things that really didn't have any value. They were just like eye candy. You know, to me, you walk by the store, you see a cute top, you're like, oh my gosh, and I can actually purchase this. This is awesome, right? So I got a little bit, I went from like one kind of extreme of being essentialist only to all of a sudden being able to buy some things. And it's a slippery slope, you know, you kind of slip into that world of, oh, it's just normal to buy this, buy, you know, whatever I see that I'm able to afford at the time. Like, oh, I can buy that perfume now. Oh, I can buy this, I can buy that, I can buy the cute top now. You know, it's like this exciting new thing to you if you don't come from being able to do that ever before. Or maybe you were able to do that all along and it was just normal to you know, because that's how you grew up, you know. We grow up with either, you know, something is either normal to us, and so we keep on going about things, going about life that same way, or we do a 180 and we don't get the opportunities early on, and then we flip and totally go extreme when we get older and we're able to, you know, which is kind of what I did. So that's how I ended up with the tons of makeup, like drawers of makeup back in the day, right? Circa 2011 on YouTube. I feel like that was like the goal for beauty YouTubers back in the day, right? Like, you know, having drawers of makeup and all these different beautiful little things you get to wear and try, and doing your makeup different every day, which is lovely. But then later on I realized, oh wait, I don't want all the stuff and I don't want to spend all the money that it takes to have that stuff, and I don't want to manage that stuff, and I don't want to spend my time fussing with that stuff as much, like to that degree. I still like that stuff, but it's on a very much more manageable level, and it fits my budget better. So I'm not like, you know, I found balance. Sometimes it takes us a little while in life to kind of rebalance, you know, find our equilibrium and what feels good to us again. And then you kind of come back to who you really are later in life, and you realize what really is more important to you. Just going through the process of decluttering can make you realize how little you actually need or want. And sometimes you realize you already have what you wanted most in life, and everything else pales in comparison. Number 12, be intentional about what you buy and let into the house. We don't want to go through all that time and effort of decluttering only to have more stuff streaming into the house and refilling those spaces, right, that we just cleared out. It would be like a vacuum, right? Like you make space and then all of a sudden more stuff comes in and just refills that space. All of that time and effort of decluttering would be a waste because now we're just back at square one again, and so we don't want that. And there's a lot of cool things out there. Some of them might catch our eye, but I like to leave them in the store. I let the store the stuff. I don't want to store the stuff. And when it comes to stuff coming into the house, there are different strategies that we can apply to avoid excess stuff from flooding back into the house, like not going to the stores in the first place. That's one of my personal favorites. I have a whole list of stores. Actually, it was going to be a video. That's why it's a list. Otherwise, I don't really make lists like that. But it was a video I was going to do on all the places I stopped going that now save me a ton of money because I don't go to those stores anymore or to those places. Or maybe you can't avoid going to this particular store and you have to go there for something, and something else catches your eye and you're like, ooh, I didn't even know I wanted that. I didn't even know that was in here. But suddenly you lock eyes with it from across the aisle and you're like, ooh, I really want that. All of a sudden it just hits you from out of nowhere, right? If you can, step away from the item and just think about it for a few days. Give yourself a few days. You might not even want it at the end of that few days. You might forget about it and you might be like, actually, nah, I don't really need that after all. That can happen a lot. You know, if you just let that impulse buy, and impulse buy is like a craving with food, right? Like you need it in that moment. You must have it. It must leave the store with you. It's an intense, panicked kind of moment. You must eat that raspberry cheesecake right away. It's an emergency. So decluttering not only gets us more in the habit of paying attention to our inventory that we already have, but it also helps us in this area of being more intentional about everything we do let into the house. And it's not just what we buy, it's everything we let into the house, including free stuff. Maybe someone gave you something, maybe it was a freebie, free promotional item, gift with purchase, or you're at a garage sale looking for something specific and someone offers to just give you some things. You know, there's all kinds of ways you can end up with stuff without even having to buy it. And we really do have to pay attention to anything that we have coming into the house because the clutter builds up really, really fast. So just remember, you don't have to accept items just because they're free, and you don't have to keep items just because they were a gift. And we don't have to store items that we no longer are finding value in, that are no longer serving us. They could be serving somebody else. Decluttering can be so much fun. It can also be overwhelming, so stay focused on your goal for the space. Keep a positive mental attitude and know that all of your hard work is going to pay off. And think about what you visualized for your space. Think about how good it's going to feel when you walk into a clean room with clear surfaces. It feels light and calm. You're able to focus better and you're able to relax without the stress and anxiety of excess stuff. And let me know if you guys have any strategies that I didn't add to this list, because there are more ways that you can be more intentional about things coming into your house. Let me know your tips down below. I love to read through and read your guys' comments and all of your ideas too. All right, guys, I love you. Take really good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye.